Hello, once again, welcome to Zero Doubt, baby. I wanted in today's episode, I wanted to touch base on, just mentorship, and how important it is for coaches and trainers to mentor these young athletes. In order to get over trials and tribulations, you need to be around someone who's been there, done that, seasoned, and can help a child navigate through their challenges. And I think that when you are involved with someone who hasn't stood the test of time in a sport and in adversity when it comes to basketball, or just having to balance sports and school and your attitude, you're missing one of the most key components to being an elite athlete, because there's so much more to being physically gifted or better than everyone else. Like everything comes full circle, and when you can get all those three things in check, the sky's the limit. Well, the sky's not the limit. You can reach for the stars. So I want to touch base on a guy like, for example, a perfect example of a guy that emphasizes that type of motto, and what he does is one of the guys I watch all the time, Deion Sanders. Absolutely amazing. To see his guidance through real experience and how he shares that with the kids. And if you guys know him, NFL legend, also played baseball as well. I think he has both of his sons in the NFL right now, and what he's been able to do with his body of work, and also help other kids reach their dreams and goals and change the whole narrative is absolutely amazing. So a couple of clips I want to share with you right now, and what he does, like real life experiences. Like I said, actually, you know what? Let me just go back to what he actually does in holding these kids accountable. I know I sound a little bit all over the place right now, but here is a clip of Dion just holding his players accountable. And I guess the teacher sent like a note about her experience with his athletes. And this is a great example of what a coach is supposed to be like.
This semester has been extremely challenging for me as a professor. I have never felt so disrespected in my 10 years of teaching. Students do not follow even minimally, and it slows down my class so much. They make it clear that they don't want to be here, and they have very little personal responsibility, making me responsible for their grades. For the students that do want to learn, it has been a bad experience as well, since they have to work on breakout rooms, and the distracted students do not bring anything to the table. You just there to eat. You got nothing to the table. With knives, forks, and spoons. I often have to repeat the same 3 and 4 times because student athletes are present but not really in class. You present, but you ain't really there. You on the field, but you ain't doing nothing. You in a relationship, but you ain't got no love. You at the mall, but you ain't got no money. Got a lot of ability, but no darn talent. Because you don't think. This is from the teacher. Now, what bothers me severely is all the guys that we're about to see. Where's Corey, you in here? Let me know if they have a draft grade. Let's roll it. When he does, he is respectful. He's a good kid. I would have commended that. And kind, but a lot of the times he has no idea of what is going on. He has missed way over 3 classes, so his final grade will drop. Any drop grades? Okay. When he is asked to participate, sometimes I need to repeat what we're doing because he is not following, distracting. Any drop grades?
This is a great example. I want to cut this clip real quick. This man is calling out his players for not doing what they're supposed to be doing in class. So this is someone that emphasizing why it's very important to lock in on everything that surrounds the game of football. Going to class, being respectful, taking care of your health, owning up to your stuff, holding yourself accountable. Like, what he's doing is so valuable, right? You don't really get a lot of people like him that are able who have done what he's done, and to come to university and give back and set the standard, right, and change the narrative and change these kids' lives, because he's putting it out there straight up, like, listen, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna play this game. Because a lot of guys have experienced, even myself, like, getting injured and understanding that there's going to be a time when that ball stops bouncing. What are you going to do after that? You got to be able to apply yourself. You got to be able to retain information. You got to figure out a way to make it work. Let me go ahead and click back on this real quick.
Joined the class a lot of the time. I was not able to see his face after having a conversation with him. So that means you're going to talk to him about this. And he's not visible in the camera. Next one. Any drop grade? Next one. Guys, you're going to get something out of this. You're going to be a man, or you're going to be a great football player. Since you choose not to be a great football player, we got to make you a man. We good with that? Carry on. Let's have a great one.
I'm a little frustrated. I'm a little angry right now because we, in this new collective in NIL state of mind, we got youngsters that's all in on one side of the game. 90% or 95% of your roster ain't going pro. So
you hear that? 90% of the roster is not going pro. So he's emphasizing how important it is to lock in on your schoolwork. It is what it is. But because these kids are getting all this type of money with the NIL deals, they feel like they don't have to try as hard. And he's letting it be known right now.
Coaches, we got to emphasize education. We got to emphasize life. We got to emphasize the next step, the next elevation if it don't work in the game. Come in. So, today was not wonderful. But I'd be darned if I allow these kids to get out of here without something. Without something. Because this life they getting ready to live, you got to win with your mind, not your athleticism.
Woo, boy, that's a bar. You got to win with your mind, not with your athleticism, right? So, understanding as coaches, mentors, it's so important for us to, set the standard for these kids. How are you representing yourself in the classroom? What are you putting yourself in position to be, right? And Dion definitely is fully invested in these kids' future, and also what's so important about that is because he's building confidence and character. He's teaching these young men how to be great, successful young men, right? Because think about this, especially as an athlete, there's a narrative like athletes are dumb, athletes don't lock in on school, or athletes get things handed to them. We do live in a world where, people who are high performers do get benefits of being high performers, and that's just how business is. But in the real world, as far as, when things don't work out being an athlete, what you going to do now? Like, how are you going to set yourself up? How are you going to think your way through problems and be a problem solver? Right? These are things that kids need to know and understand, right? And one thing I want to touch on for Dion is like, his motivation, his motivational speeches and what he's able to do. And like, it's so important for us to like look at guys like him. And like, when you're a training session, you talk to your kids, you motivate them, you have things that you want to say to them, get them amped up. You know what I mean? And that's something that, we got to continue to push and, like mimic, like, I think in my first episode, we were talking about, how like there's pros who looked up to other people for information and for good insight. So for me, looking at Deion Sanders is amazing. So there's a clip right here that I'm going to play. It's only like 2 minutes long. It's just about, it's Deion talking. I don't know if you guys know Deion Sanders, but his speeches and how impactful it is to the youth and even people watching is amazing. So here we go.
I want you to see that. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That has everything to do with you. You got to believe. This is about you. You got to believe. Let's just forget sports for one moment. Do you believe in you, period? Take away your jersey, take away your number.
This is amazing. Take away your jersey, your number, take away basketball. Focus on who you are as a person. Because there's going to be a time where you might not be an athlete anymore. What is your identity?
Take away that thing that's on the back of your shirt, your family name. Do you believe in you? That if you didn't have sports, you would be successful. That's the way you got to believe. That I don't give a darn if I had sports or not. I was still going to be something and somebody, and I was still going to affect and impact our society. God just chose to get me involved. And he just chose to give me some talent. That I did some wonderful things with it for such a time of this. So you got to believe no matter what in you. When I say I believe, what does that mean? Confidence. I love that. What does that mean?
Like little things like this, keeping the kids engaged, having them so locked in on the message. These are things that I feel like a lot of trainers probably lack, or coaches maybe lack. And a lot of these kids don't have that as something to lean on, right? Especially when you're helping a child understand the game and understand that, listen, when things ain't going your way, you got to just pull your pants up and continue to push. But sometimes it takes, you might fail for a whole year, and then, the next year you're just someone different. This is how life works. Being persistent.
Excuse me? Believe in oneself. I like that. What does it really mean?
I'm betting on myself.
I'm betting on myself. I love the way you vibrated that thing. I'm betting on myself. Coach Kelly, what does that mean to you?
The way you all and the way the coaches have practiced the past 2 days compared to the days before that and last week has been drastically different.
Because there's no way you can believe if you what? You're not prepared. There's no way you can be him if you're not prepared.
There's no way you can be him if you're not prepared. Listen, this is the secret sauce. He's giving us secret sauce. If you're not preparing, if you're not practicing, if you're not training, how are you going to believe in yourself? It doesn't make sense at all. How are you going to put yourself in position? How are you going to get there when every time you miss a shot or every time things don't go your way, you're complaining and you're not consistent with it? These are things that are very, very important.
I believe we're getting ready to go shake up the whole country. I truly believe that because I feel like the offensive line are going to do what they hadn't done all year, and they're going to truly be dominant. They're going to protect too. And I truly believe this defensive line understand what they're up against with the run, and they're going to truly be dominant, and they're going to get penetration, and they're going to get pressure. I truly believe that. That's why I'm confident today. That's why I'm walking the way I walk. That's why I'm talking the way I talk. That's why I'm moving the way I move. Because I believe in every darn thing that sits in him. The problem is, you got to believe in the guy next to you. We good with that?
Yes, sir.
So when I believe, that's what I mean. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're saying. It ain't got nothing to do with me. I believe in y'all. You got to believe in you.
Vibrate.
That's amazing right there. That's amazing. That is amazing. For him to, break it down like that and give these kids the confidence to say, listen, I believe we're going to go this far. Regardless of what people may say, to have that type of energy and bring that before practice sets the tone for the rest of practice. Right? And stuff like this is very contagious. Very contagious, and we have to be willing to learn, apply, and help the youth so that when they're in position, they're able to help the next generation. Right? And this follows straight into keeping the youth away from negative influences. If you look at social media, like the bad habits, the peer pressure, a lot of things that really don't exist, but because we open our minds to it, because we're watching it, we're seeing it. These are things that, that take away from a kid's confidence. We got to make sure we put a positive voice of reason into the youth. And as coaches and trainers, we have the ability to, you know, take these kids to the next level. It's tough because, you know, we might not understand where a kid's coming from at home or what his situation is, but we have to make sure that we, you know, teach discipline and purpose. You know, keep kids grounded, and like help understand the success with your character, like your character and what you're able to do when things are not going your way. Are you able to hold your emotions together, lock in, and not just think about yourself, think about the team, think about the greater purpose, think about what's happening down the line, think about what's happening with your body and how you're molding yourself into something special, right? These are things that we got to play into. And like teaching life beyond the game, you know, to all you kids out there, man, just a message to you guys, man. Like, you know, I have a lot of kids that I train in my program, and, you know, sometimes there's kids that get upset because they're not making a certain shot. But you have to ask yourself a question. How many times did you practice that shot? How many times did you work on that move? This is the time to struggle. This is the time to learn. There's a reason why we have training sessions or practice. To practice on things we are not good at, or to perfect. Because even the best in the world still are in the gym locking in because they got to what? They got to polish their craft, make sure they're lined up, make sure their body's engaged, ready for war, ready to compete. You know, like there's a lot of life lessons in sports, you know, especially like when you're with a team. You know, one day all you kids are going to grow up and have a family, your wife as your teammate, as far as like family unit. That's your team. How are you guys going to work together to problem solve? How are you going to get over the challenges of being married? How are you going to get over the challenges of being a new father? How are you going to get over the challenges financially? What is your strategy? Right? Kids, understand this is preparing you for life. Beyond basketball, beyond sports, you got to embrace what you're going through right now. If you lose a game, if you miss a shot, it's not the end of the world. It's a game. But how you react and respond to it matters. It's going to help you in the future. Being resilient, you know. This is something that I feel like, you know, a lot of us coaches need to harp on 100%. So then kids can go back and have that in their mind and understand, like, it's not that bad if I miss a shot, you know. There's still an extra opportunity. I still have an opportunity to wake up the next day and get better. But if you look around the world, there's people who don't have that opportunity. There's people who are waking up every single day not knowing what they're going to eat, not knowing if they're going to be alive, you know. And sometimes we take things like this for granted, you know. And also just understanding like the ability we have as trainers and coaches is leaving a legacy or having an impact that could change the whole environment or the whole city that you live in. You never know what a kid is going to become based off what you give them, right? We can change people's mindsets and ability to really believe in themselves, especially if you're someone who is very invested in helping the youth, you know. Mentorship gives you the vision. We got to understand that, right? It gives you the vision, and it gives values and a voice. It connects wisdom to like potential, like experiences to energy, you know, and purpose to talent. Like we got to understand that, you know, all that stuff correlates. That's why the best coaches aren't just trainers. The best coaches aren't just trainers. They're life mentors. They're people that are able to make an impact off of the court. It's a mental game, guys. You don't get there by just being good. You get there by sacrifices, discipline, character, consistency, you know, how you treat people. There's a lot that goes into becoming a great athlete or a Division I athlete. or a great rep basketball, a great prep school player, even being a coach is part of life. So my, take on a lot of things that happens, I feel like young guys, man, if you're struggling, embrace it, love it, cherish it. One day you're going to look back and thank God you went through what you went through. That's episode 2 of Zero Doubt. Have a good one. Peace.